Meaningful contribution. Service as path to contentment. The most magnificent gardens extend their influence far beyond their own boundaries through seeds dispersed by wind and bird, knowledge shared with neighboring gardeners, beauty that enriches all who encounter it, demonstrating how individual cultivation naturally serves the flourishing of the whole. The master gardener eventually discovers that private beauty, however exquisite, creates a peculiar isolation that diminishes rather than enhances initial satisfaction. Gardens designed purely for individual pleasure lack the deeper fulfillment that emerges when cultivation serves purposes larger than personal aesthetic enjoyment while creating connections with the broader living community. True abundance flows from gardens that provide habitat for wildlife, offer food for neighbors, contribute environmental benefits, and share knowledge that helps others succeed. This expanded purpose transforms gardening from solitary hobby into community contribution that generates profound satisfaction, unavailable through individual achievement alone. Your personal development follows this same pattern. Individual contentment cultivation creates necessary foundation, but ultimate fulfillment emerges when your growth serves others' well-being through contribution that feels natural rather than obligatory. Service becomes pathway to contentment rather than moral duty, competing with personal satisfaction. The architecture of authentic service. Meaningful contribution arises from the intersection of your capabilities, authentic interests, and others' genuine needs rather than from guilt, social pressure, or attempts to earn approval through good works. When service emerges from this intersection, it enhances rather than depletes your energy while providing recipients with assistance that reflects your best qualities. Authentic service differs from obligation-driven activity by generating intrinsic satisfaction that sustains long-term engagement rather than requiring willpower maintenance. You experience natural motivation to continue contributing because the activity provides meaning and utilizes capabilities in ways that feel like expression rather than sacrifice. This authentic foundation prevents the common pattern of initial service enthusiasm followed by gradual resentment when obligation-driven contribution demands energy you don't genuinely have available. Instead of forcing generosity through moral pressure, authentic service flows from abundance created through your individual contentment cultivation. The teacher who volunteers for literacy programs expresses authentic service when teaching aligns with genuine passion for education, utilizes natural instructional abilities, serves community members who truly need reading skills, and provides personal satisfaction through meaningful engagement with valued activity. Contrast this with someone who volunteers for literacy programs because they believe they should help others, despite feeling drained by teaching activities and preferring solitary pursuits. While their intention deserves respect, such forced service often proves unsustainable and provides less effective assistance than authentic contribution from naturally suited volunteers. Recognition over obligation involves identifying contribution opportunities that match your authentic nature rather than accepting service assignments based on availability or social expectations. This approach serves recipients more effectively while providing contributors with sustainable satisfaction. Energy assessment helps distinguish between service that energizes versus activities that deplete your resources in ways that ultimately reduce your capacity for both contribution and personal well-being. Sustainable service enhances rather than competes with your overall life satisfaction. Interest alignment explores how your genuine curiosities and concerns could serve others' needs through activities that feel engaging rather than dutiful. This alignment creates service that feels like natural expression rather than moral obligation, requiring constant motivation maintenance. Micro-level service in daily life, the foundation of meaningful contribution, lies not in dramatic volunteer activities, but in countless daily interactions that either enhance or diminish others' well-being through small acts of attention, kindness, and consideration that accumulate significant positive impact over time. These micro-contributions often remain invisible because they feel natural and require minimal effort. Yet research demonstrates that brief positive interactions create ripple effects extending far beyond immediate recipients to influence broader social environments, family dynamics, and community cultures in ways that benefit everyone involved. Family contribution represents perhaps the most significant yet under-recognized service available, where daily activities of parenting, partnership, household management, and extended family care provide essential support for multiple people's development while creating meaning unavailable through other approaches. The parent who maintains emotional stability during family crises provides children with security that affects their lifelong emotional regulation capacity. This service requires no special training or volunteer commitment, but creates profound impact through consistent presence and responsive care during both ordinary and challenging moments. Partnership contribution involves supporting spouse development through daily acts of consideration, collaboration, and mutual care that serve both individual well-being and relationship harmony while creating intimacy and meaning unavailable through purely self-focused approaches. Someone who notices their partner's stress after difficult days and responds with practical support or emotional presence provides service that strengthens relationship bonds while demonstrating care through action rather than just words. This micro-service requires no formal commitment, but creates daily impact on another person's well-being and life satisfaction. Workplace service extends beyond job requirements to include colleague support, positive culture contribution, and mission advancement that creates beneficial environments while providing contributors with satisfaction from knowing their efforts serve collective effectiveness and others' well-being. The colleague who offers encouragement during challenging projects, shares knowledge that helps others succeed, or maintains optimistic perspective during difficult periods provides workplace service that improves everyone's daily experience while requiring minimal additional effort beyond basic courtesy and consideration. Community interaction service occurs through daily encounters with neighbors, service employees, and strangers that either contribute to or detract from community social environment through courtesy, kindness, and consideration that accumulates into neighborhood culture quality. Simple gestures like thanking service workers genuinely, offering assistance to neighbors during difficulties, or treating strangers with basic courtesy contribute to community social climate in ways that benefit both providers and recipients, while modeling consideration that influences broader interaction patterns. Recognition practice involves acknowledging microservice opportunities throughout daily activities, rather than waiting for formal, volunteer context to contribute meaningfully to others' well-being. Most days contain numerous opportunities for small acts that serve others while providing contributors with satisfaction from positive impact. Community and organizational engagement. Beyond daily interpersonal service, sustainable contentment often requires engagement with community organizations and initiatives that address collective needs through collaborative efforts that individual action alone cannot accomplish, while providing contributors with social connection and shared purpose. This scale of service bridges individual daily contribution and large-scale social impact through community involvement that utilizes personal skills for collective benefit while creating relationships based on shared values and mutual commitment to community well-being rather than just entertainment or networking. Organizational selection involves choosing community groups that align with your authentic interests and values rather than accepting any available volunteer opportunity. This alignment ensures sustained motivation while providing organizations with contributors who bring genuine enthusiasm rather than duty-driven participation. Someone passionate about environmental protection might join local conservation groups, assist with community garden projects, or support environmental education initiatives rather than volunteering for unrelated causes simply because they need helpers. This focused approach provides more effective service while generating personal satisfaction through meaningful engagement. Skill-based contribution offers professional or personal capabilities to organizations that could benefit from your expertise while providing meaningful application of abilities you've developed through career or life experience. This approach creates valuable service while utilizing contributors' strengths rather than asking them to perform unfamiliar tasks. The accountant who manages finances for nonprofit organizations, the teacher who develops educational programs for community groups, or the parent who coordinates family-friendly events demonstrates skill-based service that benefits recipients while providing contributors with satisfaction from applying expertise for meaningful purposes. Collaborative opportunities involve working with others towards shared goals rather than individual volunteer tasks, creating relationships and community connection while addressing collective needs through organized efforts that multiply individual impact through coordination. Participating in community improvement projects, joining advocacy efforts for important local issues, or contributing to cultural events provides collaborative service that builds social bonds while serving community needs through shared commitment and mutual support. Sustainable involvement requires honest assessment of available time, energy, and long-term capacity for community engagement rather than overcommitting during initial enthusiasm phases. Sustainable service provides consistent long-term contribution rather than intensive short-term involvement, followed by burnout and withdrawal. Consider starting with modest commitments that can be maintained consistently rather than accepting major responsibilities that might interfere with family obligations or personal well-being. Gradual involvement allows realistic assessment of capacity while building relationships and understanding that support increased engagement over time. Family integration creates opportunities for shared contribution activities that model service while building family relationships through collaborative engagement with purposes larger than family benefit, teaching children about contribution while creating positive shared experiences. Families might participate together in community volunteer projects, adopt local improvement initiatives as family activities, engage in environmental stewardship through collaborative learning and action, or contribute to community events through joint family involvement that demonstrates values while strengthening family bonds. Addressing larger social challenges. While individual and community service provide immediate satisfaction and direct impact, sustainable contentment often requires engagement with broader social challenges through approaches that connect personal contribution with systemic change efforts addressing root causes of social, environmental, and economic problems affecting large populations. This expanded service orientation prevents isolation that can accompany focus on immediate local needs while ignoring broader contexts affecting community well-being, creating approaches that serve both immediate local benefit and systemic improvement through accumulated individual and community actions. Local action with global awareness recognizes how community environmental stewardship contributes to broader ecological health. Local economic development serves regional stability, community education enhancement benefits, social development, and local cultural preservation supports global cultural diversity. Someone who organizes neighborhood recycling programs demonstrates macro-level service through environmental impact that extends beyond local benefits, while community members develop habits and awareness that influence broader environmental attitudes and behaviors. Professional impact reframes career activities as service to larger human needs rather than just individual advancement, recognizing that professional competence and ethical practice contribute to broader social functioning while providing personal satisfaction through meaningful work engagement. The healthcare worker who maintains high standards of patient care, the teacher who advocates for educational improvements, or the business professional who prioritizes ethical practices demonstrates macro-level service through professional activities that benefit broader society while serving career development. Consumer consciousness creates macro impact through purchasing decisions that support businesses and practices aligned with social and environmental values while influencing market trends toward more responsible approaches through accumulated individual choices. Choosing products from companies with ethical labor practices, supporting local businesses that contribute to community economic health, or purchasing environmentally sustainable goods demonstrates service through consumption patterns that influence broader economic and environmental outcomes. Policy engagement provides opportunities for civic participation that addresses systemic issues through voting, advocacy, community education, and support for policies that serve collective well-being while requiring modest time investment that most people can manage alongside other responsibilities. Staying informed about local and national issues that affect community well-being, participating in public comment periods for relevant policies, or supporting candidates who represent values aligned with collective flourishing demonstrates macro-level service through civic engagement. Cultural contribution includes activities that preserve, develop, or transmit cultural knowledge, artistic expression, and wisdom traditions that benefit current and future generations while providing contributors with connection to larger purposes that transcend individual achievement. Someone who documents family history for future generations, participates in cultural celebrations that maintain community traditions, or supports arts organizations that provide cultural enrichment demonstrates service that contributes to cultural vitality and continuity. Service without depletion. Sustainable service requires ongoing attention to the balance between contribution and personal resource management to prevent the burnout that occurs when service demands exceed available capacity. Authentic service should enhance rather than diminish your overall life satisfaction while providing meaningful assistance to others. Capacity assessment involves honest evaluation of available time, energy, and emotional resources for service activities after meeting essential personal and family responsibilities. This assessment prevents overcommitment that leads to resentment or withdrawal from service activities. Consider your natural energy rhythms, existing obligations, and personal maintenance requirements when evaluating service opportunities. Someone already managing intensive family responsibilities or demanding career obligations may have limited capacity for additional formal commitments while still contributing significantly through daily microservice and modest community involvement. Boundary establishment protects both your well-being and service effectiveness by creating clear limits around what you can realistically provide while maintaining quality engagement rather than spreading yourself too thin across multiple commitments. Learning to decline service requests that exceed your capacity or don't align with your authentic interests demonstrates wisdom that ultimately serves everyone involved. Organizations benefit more from contributors who engage wholeheartedly within their limits rather than those who overcommit and provide inadequate attention. Motivation monitoring helps distinguish between service that continues feeling meaningful versus activities that have become obligation or habit without genuine satisfaction. Periodic assessment of your service motivation ensures continued alignment between contribution and authentic engagement. If volunteer activities begin feeling burdensome rather than satisfying, consider whether adjustments could restore meaning or whether it's time to transition toward different service opportunities that better match your current circumstances and interests. Renewal practices maintain capacity for sustained service through activities that restore energy, provide perspective, and prevent the emotional exhaustion that can accompany intensive engagement with others' difficulties or community challenges. Regular solitude, creative expression, physical activity, spiritual practice, or other renewal activities maintain the inner resources necessary for continued generous engagement while preventing the depletion that makes service feel like burden rather than opportunity for meaningful contribution. Integration with personal development ensures that service activities complement rather than compete with your own growth and contentment cultivation. Sustainable service emerges from personal abundance rather than self-sacrifice that ultimately reduces your capacity for both contribution and individual well-being. When service feels integrated with rather than separate from your personal development, contribution enhances your life satisfaction while serving others' needs through authentic expression of your evolving capabilities and interests. This approach to meaningful contribution reveals how individual contentment naturally extends toward collective service when development reaches sufficient maturity. Rather than competing with personal satisfaction, authentic service becomes expression of established inner abundance that creates profound fulfillment, unavailable through individual achievement alone. Service rooted in authentic development provides foundation for the advanced contentment work explored in Part 7, where love, acceptance, and harmony practices build upon established contribution to create complete integration of individual flourishing. Part 6, integration, the natural extension of individual flourishing. The 3 chapters comprising Part 6 have created the essential bridge between individual contentment, cultivation, and meaningful contribution that serves both personal fulfillment and collective well-being. Like the master gardener whose private plot naturally extends its influence through shared seeds, exchanged wisdom, and inspiring beauty, You have discovered how authentic individual development inevitably reaches towards service that enhances rather than diminishes personal satisfaction. Chapter 18's exploration of purposeful prosperity revealed how career and financial decisions can either support or constrain your overall life flourishing, showing that authentic prosperity involves alignment between professional activities and deeper values rather than simply maximizing income or status. You discovered that sustainable career satisfaction emerges from integration of meaningful work, adequate compensation, life balance, and contribution to purposes larger than individual advancement. This foundation of purposeful prosperity creates the economic stability and professional fulfillment necessary for authentic service, rather than service motivated by financial insecurity or career dissatisfaction. When work life aligns with your values while providing sufficient resources, you gain freedom to contribute generously rather than approaching service as escape from professional dissatisfaction or attempt to find meaning missing from career activities. Chapter 19's comprehensive guide to finding and living your ikigai provided the practical methodology for integrating what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for into coherent life purpose that expresses through daily activities rather than requiring dramatic transformation. You learn to recognize purpose elements already present within current circumstances while consciously cultivating greater integration between authentic expression and meaningful contribution. The Ikigai discovery process revealed how individual gifts naturally seek expression through service when approached with understanding that personal fulfillment and collective contribution support rather than compete with each other. Your unique combination of interests, abilities, and circumstances creates contribution, opportunities that serve needs others cannot meet, making individual authenticity essential for optimal collective service rather than selfishness that prevents generous engagement. Chapter 20's exploration of meaningful contribution demonstrated how service naturally emerges from stable individual development rather than requiring self-sacrifice or abandonment of personal needs and growth. You discovered that sustainable service flows from abundance created through baseline satisfaction, elevation, conscious personal development, and purposeful prosperity, rather than attempting to serve from deficit or inadequacy that ultimately depletes rather than sustains contribution capacity. This service foundation reveals how individual contentment cultivation serves collective purposes by creating individuals capable of generous, sustained, effective contribution rather than needy engagement that requires more support than it provides. The helper who maintains personal well-being serves others more effectively than the helper who becomes overwhelmed through inadequate self-care. The integration of prosperity, purpose, and service creates what might be called generative living, existence that naturally produces value for both individual flourishing and collective benefit through authentic expression of developed capabilities in service of genuine needs. This represents the maturation of individual development work that begun in earlier parts of your journey through conscious creation, intentional living, continuous growth, and baseline elevation practices. Purposeful prosperity provides the foundation by creating economic security and professional satisfaction that enables generous rather than desperate engagement with service opportunities. When career activities align with values while providing adequate resources, service becomes expression of abundance rather than attempt to find meaning missing from other life areas or strategy for avoiding professional dissatisfaction. Ikigai integration provides the methodology for discovering and expressing the unique ways your authentic nature can contribute to collective well-being while providing personal fulfillment. Rather than forcing artificial separation between individual expression and social responsibility, Ikigai reveals how personal authenticity serves collective benefit through contributions that emerge naturally from who you most genuinely are. Meaningful contribution provides the expression where individual development extends toward purposes larger than personal enhancement, while maintaining rather than sacrificing the satisfaction that enables sustained engagement. Service becomes pathway to contentment, unavailable through individual achievement alone, while honoring rather than abandoning the individual development that makes effective service possible. The service satisfaction connection reveals a profound truth about human flourishing. While individual contentment cultivation provides necessary foundation for effective contribution, service that emerges from authentic individual development creates satisfaction that purely personal pursuits cannot provide. The teacher whose classroom work expresses genuine educational passion experiences fulfillment unavailable through career advancement alone. The parent whose nurturing gifts serve family development finds meaning that personal hobbies cannot match. This bidirectional relationship between individual development and collective contribution prevents both narcissistic self-focus that ignores social responsibility and depleting self-sacrifice that ultimately reduces contribution capacity. Instead, authentic individual development creates foundation for generous service, while meaningful contribution enhances individual satisfaction through engagement with purposes larger than personal comfort or achievement. The ripple effects of integrated living extend naturally beyond conscious service activities to influence family dynamics, workplace culture, community engagement, and social relationships through the modeling that authentic, satisfied, purposeful individuals provide simply by living according to their values while maintaining generous attention to others' well-being. Children witness adults living meaningfully rather than merely surviving or pursuing external validation. Colleagues experience the increased engagement and creativity that emerges from individuals whose work aligns with deeper purpose. Communities benefit from contributions made by individuals whose service flows from personal abundance rather than obligation or inadequacy compensation. The preparation for advanced harmony practices emerges through Part 6, integration of individual flourishing with collective contribution, creating readiness for Part 7's exploration of love, acceptance, and harmony that build upon established service capacity. When individual development supports rather than competes with generous engagement, you develop foundation for the advanced contentment practices that integrate personal and collective well-being at the deepest levels. The natural progression from survival to service reveals itself through the journey you have completed. Conscious creation, established intentional living capacity, sacred stewardship developed resource awareness, intentional living created daily wisdom practices. Continuous learning built ongoing development capabilities. Baseline elevation established sustainable satisfaction foundations, and purposeful contribution integrates individual flourishing with collective service. This progression represents the natural maturation of human development from basic survival needs through individual growth toward meaningful contribution that serves both personal authenticity and collective flourishing. Each stage builds upon previous development while preparing foundation for continued expansion toward more inclusive and generous engagement with life's opportunities. The evolution from needy to generous engagement marks the essential transformation that Part 6 enables, from approaching life primarily as opportunity to meet individual needs toward engaging life, an opportunity to express individual gifts in service of collective well-being. This evolution occurs naturally when individual development reaches sufficient stability and satisfaction to support generous attention to others' needs and collective challenges. The steady contentment you have cultivated through baseline elevation provides emotional foundation for sustained service. The authentic purpose you have discovered through ikigai exploration provides direction for meaningful contribution. The professional satisfaction you have developed through purposeful prosperity provides resources for generous engagement. Together, these elements create capacity for the advanced harmony practices of Part 7, where individual authenticity and collective care achieve complete integration. Your individual garden has grown strong roots, healthy branches, and abundant fruit. Now its natural influence extends beyond personal boundaries through seeds of inspiration, wisdom shared with fellow gardeners, and beauty that enriches all who encounter the flourishing that emerges when authentic individual development serves purposes larger than personal enhancement while honoring rather than abandoning the unique gifts that make each contribution irreplaceable. Integration practice, living the service satisfaction connection, monthly purpose service alignment review. Assess how your current service activities align with your discovered ikigai elements, ensuring that contribution feels like authentic expression rather than obligation disconnected from your natural gifts and interests. Prosperity generosity, balance assessment. Evaluate how professional and financial decisions support both individual well-being and capacity for generous engagement, avoiding both inadequate self-care that depletes service capacity and excessive self-focus that prevents meaningful contribution. Service sustainability evaluation. Monitor whether contribution activities enhance or diminish your baseline satisfaction, adjusting service approaches to maintain the personal abundance that enables sustained generous engagement rather than depleting self-sacrifice. Ripple effect recognition. Notice how your integration of individual authenticity with meaningful service influences family members, colleagues, and community connections through modeling that authentic satisfaction naturally extends toward collective care. Advanced harmony preparation. Observe how stable individual development combined with meaningful service creates foundation for the deep acceptance, love, and harmony practices that represent contentment cultivation's most mature expression with collective well-being.